Hi there, everybody. Mike Petras here, your star realtor of Star and the Treasure Valley, back with another wonderful episode of Mikey's monthly market updates for the month of February 2022. Let's go ahead and get into that information right after this. Welcome back after the break, everybody. Of course, again, I'm Mike Petras, your star realtor, and welcome to Mikey's monthly market updates for the month of February 2022. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you do know what it does. But if you haven't, this is going to be a breakdown of the real estate market and what is happening currently in the data and the trends right here in the Treasure Valley. Now, of course, it's going to cover Ada and Canyon counties primarily, but this is going to give you the information that you're looking for, that if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest right here in the Treasure Valley. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start off with Ada County like we normally do and take a look at the median and average sold price that is really kind of transpired here into February of 2022. Now, for all of you who have been following these videos, we do know that, back around April and May of 2021, the overall insane equity growth that the Treasure Valley was seeing basically just kind of came to a halt. You could see that it plateaued and flatlined itself. And for all of you that have been in the Treasure Valley that may not have been seeing this, but also saw, your equity train growth, it was crazy. I mean, between 19 and 20, we actually saw the most equity growth in the entire United States right here in the Treasure Valley. But of course, again, it did put on its brakes back around April, May time. But if we're looking right over here at the average sold price, okay, and the average median prices, for the February of 2022, we're seeing them kind of rise again. Okay, and the big question here is why that's going to be. Now, if you're used to anything in real estate, or you do have a keen mind about real estate and how it works, it really is all about supply and demand. So why did we have that crazy equity growth, back 2019, 2020, leading all the way into this? Well, a lot of it was demand before COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, it just absolutely swiped out the inventory that was available here in the Treasure Valley. But it did not curb the demand. The demand was still crazy hot. A lot of people still wanted to come up here. And of course, as you know, if there's no inventory, okay, and there's a lot of demand and people are kind of fighting after that one object, what's going to happen? It's going to create bidding wars. It's going to create fights. People are going to pay over asking. And you saw that actually really around the entire United States. But here, especially in the Treasure Valley, we saw the most equity growth. In 2020 alone, we saw 23.7% increase in our home prices. That was the highest in the nation. And if you lived here already, you cashed in on those benefits. Now, can we start beginning to see that trend here coming up? Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So what I wanted to do this month is I wanted to go ahead and break it down and show you the average home prices in a 6-month snapshot. Okay, and let you know, what has changed basically since September of 21 to February 2022. And you can see right here in our average sold price, it did pop up. Okay, it popped up about $30,000. And even the median home price has seen about a $15,000 gain. So are we starting to see equity return to the Treasure Valley itself? Well, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the actives versus solds. Again, remember I was mentioning just a second ago about supply versus demand. If we take a look here back in, around March of 2020, when COVID really hit itself, you could just see that everybody was reluctant to sell. Whether that it was just COVID holding, people holding on because of COVID and didn't want to put their house in the market. And then, of course, the new construction, they kind of took a hit in terms of people not being able to work or not being allowed to work, okay, more or less, or government coming in and giving them money and incentives, not to work. That's another one. Okay. But really our new construction wasn't building as much, and people were kind of on the reluctant to sell aspect. So you could see our inventory here in Ada County during the whole COVID basically pandemic here just went down to basically nothing. But if we look at the gray line, which I want to kind of focus on here, this is the people that still wanted to come in and buy. The dip here is really what was available to buy. So if you kind of think about that, was it a dip in our demand? No, I don't think so at all. I think more or less it was just a dip because when the solds, because there's just nothing there to be able to purchase. But either way, if you live here in the Treasure Valley, you know that a lot of people still want to come to this area, and the graphs and the data is really kind of showing that consistently across the board, even if you're looking at the pendings. So what is currently under contract, it's not really kind of falling here. I did read an article to where they were talking and discussing about, and this came from Breitbart, to where double whammies are hitting and sales are kind of decreasing across the US. But really, is that really the case? The more that I kind of got into that, the more I was realizing that that article was not taking into the fact that, inventory is just not there. That'd be like saying it during the COVID pandemic when nobody was selling, no new construction was being really built, or not at the levels that we see compared to a normal market. But what I want to focus on over here is that you can see that our inventory is still down at a low level. Last month, I mean, it was up from the lowest peak that we saw in January 2021 during the COVID pandemic. But again, holiday seasons might have had something to do with that. And now I kind of feel that our current state of the economy also might have something to do with that. Again, maybe there's some panic in there in terms of whether or not people want to sell and make a lateral move or go anywhere at this point due to inflation rates the way that they are. Moving along, I just kind of want to show this, and another kind of stab at the Breitbart article that I did read is they're saying, well, nationwide, our demands or our solds are going down. Well, let's go ahead and let's look from 2019 all the way over here to 2022 and look at the gray lines in particular here. Okay, we all know our inventory went down, which is the blue lines. You can see there, and you can see our inventory kind of came up, back in September 2021 to where there was actually more inventory on the market compared to, what was selling. And then it kind of came into October, November, and then November kind of flip-flopped itself, but again, due probably to the holidays. And now we're going to have that discussion about whether or not it's going to be the economy having that, effect. But as you can see, the demand here to the area here in the Treasure Valley is still very strong. Okay. If we look at the existing home inventory, you can see again, it started to peak up, versus September to where we actually had like a positive, rise to that. But of course it came down. But year over year, if we look back, to January or to, around November, December time, here in 2020, compared to what we're seeing here in January of 2022, our inventory is on the rise. And again, for the month of February, going into Q2 now, people are a lot more apt to say, okay, well, it's hot season again, or it's starting to warm up. Might as well go ahead and list my house. And you can see that's the deal. But right now, what I want to focus on is that the demand is surpassing what is happening with our available inventory. Again, supply versus demand. And it's really kind of just reflecting in the price as of right now. If we look back in the new construction inventory in Ada County, again, COVID hit, boom, all went away. Demand stayed consistent across the board. Inventory started coming back up, and then it came back down. And now even our solds are surpassing even in the new construction inventory. I recently just put a couple of new homes under contract, and I can let you know, for certain that the builders were starting to raise their prices because they know that basically they can at this point. Days on market for Ada County, they've actually started kind of tickering down a little bit here from what we had. So maybe some people are coming out, and there's a little bit more of a fight, here for the resale market, which I'm kind of starting to feel. I am actually literally starting to feel that because of like gas prices and inflation, in some of these other, major states like say California, Oregon, Washington, I've got the feeling that they're really kind of seeing that it's the last straw, that they want to get out, that they are just like, they don't enjoy the values that those those states have anymore. And they're just saying, I need to go find something, that's other than where I'm currently living. So I am starting to see, possibly that fight come back in the resale market, but also due to the low inventory. There's nothing out there. We did see it start ticking back up here in February, but we'll really have to pay attention to what's going to happen in March with the stats. What is happening in this market? Are we getting more inventory? And if we do, well, then it's going to basically kind of, I would say, flatline our prices again. And if we get enough inventory, which I've talked about in previously MMMUs, like say inflation rates, raise the interest rates to a point to where it could possibly start chasing away some of the demand and the buyer pool out here. If it gets bad enough, we could start seeing that market correction. And honestly, I feel that it's kind of in the cards the way that the inflation rates have been affecting our current interest rates at the moment, which we'll see at the very, very end of this video. So either way, though, what I kind of wanted you to get out of the days of market was that you saw that it really kind of dipped down. Let's just go ahead and go back a slide here. You can see it dipped down because everybody was fighting for a property. Remember, there was no inventory. There was a lot of demand, out here. The demand stayed consistent. And with no inventory, people were really putting up a fight, and the days on market to sell was just poof. But we're starting to see, that trend go away. It's more inventory was kind of hitting the market, kind of softening it up. People weren't really kind of fighting. But at this point, we're just going to have to pay attention to what is happening with our inventory, and is it going to be on the rise? If we look at the cancels and expireds, as I was saying last month during the MMMU, the expireds really kind of rose in January of 2022, which was kind of indicating to me that people were just really holding out for the price that they wanted at their house. So they were probably overpricing it, which is why it was sitting on the market as long as it did. And they were reluctant to come down in their price. They're saying somebody will come out there and give me what I was looking for. But you can see the trend were coming up, saying, now there wasn't a lot of that anymore, because we started kind of seeing a return in that inventory around September, November time, as we saw from some of the previous slides. But now that there's no inventory, some people were probably willing to negotiate or willing to come up in their prices to be able to get one of those overpriced homes. But this, again, is just going to be another trend that we're going to have to, pay attention to as we go along. As in terms of just an overall breakdown, one of the things that I did add to the last month's was I just went in and included what the Boise Regional Realtors, has as their basic snapshot. And of course, as you can see, the median sales price is on the way up 21.6% over the year. The days on market have increased, but they have came down a little bit. So we'll just kind of pay attention to that and see if there's a fight returning to the area due to low inventory. But we have seen, again, as I mentioned earlier, year over year, the inventory come up, and you can see that it's been coming up at 62.7% year over year. So we are starting to see that trend come up. But the homes sold, again, is now surpassed what is coming basically on our inventory. So could we see another one of those trends, to where there's just going to be no inventory and a lot of, or no inventory and still the same demand? Or is the inflation rates, or sorry, the interest rates going to chase away some of that and kind of level out this market? That's what the Fed is really trying to do right now, is they are trying to level out the housing market. But we'll see what they do about that. Okay, so let's go ahead into Canyon County. And again, the same kind of trend existed here. We can take a look at our average sold price in February 2022, and we can see it took a jump. It's like, oh, okay, there we go. And even our median prices started ticking up again. And again, if we look at, what's happened in the last 6 months, you can see that the average sold price has basically ticked up about $30,000, and is really, starting to kind of, encroach maybe, Ada County, or because again, Canyon County is where you're going to find your cheaper homes as compared to Ada County. So you're seeing a lot of migration from people moving here to the Treasure Valley, going over to the Canyon County side of things as compared to Ada County. But if you look at the median home price too, as well, it's starting to tick itself back up. Okay. And again, if we look at our available inventory, what is active and out there is being surpassed now again by what the demand is, people coming in and buying. But if you take a look again back, during the COVID times to when we had no inventory basically on our market or on our shelves, if you just want to say that kind of term, we are ticking back up. Okay. And I do and still anticipate, due to interest rates, that it will kind of lower some of that buyer demand, and our inventory should maybe hopefully tick up back to normal levels, if not surpass to a point to where it takes down some of the demand, and we could see a potential market correction coming up. But again, addressing the Breitbart, article, they're saying that, solds are going down, across the nation, but they're saying that as a nation. And if we look at our local, market over here, that's just kind of really not in the cards. The solds are keeping up and now surpassing again what is available in inventory. So our market's healthy. There's demand out here to move to this area, but we'll see how interest rates affect that as we go along. Okay. And if you kind of take a look at the solds, as it comes across, you can see it's kind of been ticking up in Canyon County, which is kind of showing you that people are kind of making that migration over to Canyon County to find something a little bit cheaper. Existing home inventory, again, just want to go ahead and show this out to you. The demand, it's still surpassing what is coming on to the market. So sellers, just kind of keep that in mind. It can work out for your benefit if this kind of keeps up, and it's going to continue to raise your equity rates if it keeps up, and it keeps up to a very low level. New construction too as well. You can see that they were starting to rebuild here or build a lot more, come September, put that on. But the demand again stayed consistent across the board. But now the inventory is going back down again. That's shooting up. It could be, in due to part two, because we have had for new construction broken supply chains for quite some time. So for them being able to get a hold of lumber and concrete has been kind of tough. I know that concrete is being rationed, out here due to Ash Grove cutting half of their workforce back about a year ago. And that is really, well, first off, up the concrete prices, but also made it harder for the builders to be able to get the materials that they need. Same thing with lumber. Lumber supply chains have been relatively broken. And of course, we do remember when lumber was super expensive, came back down, but lumber kind of went up, again in price, kind of started hovering again. And we'll just have to pay attention to what happens to the lumber market. But that's, again, things that are going to affect the new home, industry. It's going to affect them being able to get the materials they need to be able to give you a home in timely fashion. And again, I've seen, to where they were popping up homes in almost record time out here from what it felt like to now it's taking them some time to be able to go ahead and get your house built, which is just letting me know that it's harder for them to do it. So the current state of the economy is kind of in the big giant question mark. And we can see it in our inflation rates. We can see it with the broken supply chains. We can see it in our gas prices. And, gas prices is going to affect and trickle down to everything else, including your food prices, everything. The instant you mess with gas, it's messing with everything. So really, since this new administration has taken hold, they basically kind of kept things down at the same levels that COVID did. Thank you. Appreciate it. But let's hope that maybe something will turn around with that, but doubt it. Okay. So moving forward with the days on market, again, we can see that the days on market was just, an absolute fight, kind of came down, but you're seeing that starting to soften up and the days on market are going. So again, the fight in Canyon County, I think is probably going to return if our inventory stays low, and you can kind of get that feel out there, as a realtor, I look in the resale market all the time and I'm starting to see, a few situations of multiple offers coming back onto the table. If you properly, as a seller, if you're properly pricing your house to be able to bring in the traffic to there to be able to make that happen. If you're shooting for the moon, more than likely, again, your house is going to sit, and anything that's really on the market for about longer than 2 weeks, sellers, the buyers are just going to stop paying attention and they're going to wait for you to reduce the price of your home. So again, if you want a good strategy, come in, at fair market value or maybe just a little bit under, and you will see a lot of traffic coming to your house because again, buyers realtors, and I do this all the time, Buyers realtors are also looking at how you price your home. So if you're pricing it over, they're going to turn around and advise the buyers, their buyers, saying that this house is overpriced at the moment. Let's go ahead and let's wait for a price reduction because it's probably coming. Sellers, keep that in mind, okay? Or you'll end up being one of the expireds. You know, if you want to really kind of hold on to your price point and your contract runs out, well, then it kind of just shows you that nobody was really kind of interested at that point and it expired because they just didn't want to overpay for the house. Again, I know for sellers, you know, when you're out there, there's, you know, the upgrades that you put into your house, the sentimental value of all that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a price that's above fair market value, because your buyer counterparts are always going to be looking for a deal. They're going to be looking with their pocketbooks and not see it your particular direction. Hence why, you know, great realtors with great negotiations like myself, and being able to discern, you know, what position the sellers are taking or what position the buyers are taking, and being able to come in and make a happy medium really all comes into play. So, but as you can see here in Canyon County, our expireds kind of went back down. So maybe, you know, maybe they just needed to go at this point and they weren't willing to hold out, or like we were talking about in Ada County, perhaps, you know, some people are willing to negotiate or willing to pay a little bit more just to get into that house right now, considering that inventory is on the low side again. But I do see it ticking up. And again, they are saying this year over year, the inventory is ticking up at 66.3% as of March 10th. The home sold is actually, again, surpassing that. The median home prices came up and the days on market has also come up. But again, it's supply and demand is why I'm seeing, and why I predict that I'm seeing, or not predict, but why I'm seeing the average sold price tick up and the median home price tick up again here in the counties. So buyers, keep that in mind. If inventory stays low, it could start rising those home prices. And then now you're really being truly hit with a double whammy with rising home prices and rising interest rates. So buyers, again, I'm saying this is your window. I really probably wouldn't play around with it for too much longer, because the interest rates are just going to get you. And if inventory does stay low for any reason, that could be the deal too. You're just going to pay more for the house overall. So you don't want to be really stuck in that double whammy. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just talk about mortgage rates here real quick before we end out this portion of the presentation. And as I've been mentioning this since the beginning of the year and a little bit before the beginning of the year, interest rates have to go up. They have to go up, everybody. It must. In order for our dollar, we all know, okay, or if you don't know, let's just go ahead and take a step back and talk about it. The Fed was printing money, okay, to be able to kind of, you know, soften the blow from the COVID pandemic. But we know that if you flood the economy with extra money, and it was trillions of dollars that they were flooding with extra money, it's really not helping anything. What it's doing is it's detracting the value of the dollar, okay? And you can see that now in the inflation rates as they're chalking up. Inflation is a result of that, because now it just takes more money to be able to go out there and buy the goods and services. The other thing that the administration did was completely cut off our American independent oil, our American independent energy. That's what they did. They completely cut it off and went to other sources like OPEC, Venezuela now, other countries as it comes across. And now they're in Iran and they're begging, you know, for oil prices. We're stopping using really American oil as a whole. We know the Keystone XL pipeline got shut down, fracking got shut down. They do claim that there's leases out there, and I'm not trying to get this political. They're saying that there's leases out there, but a lot of those leases, there's dry oil, or it's dry land. There's no oil there, and they're not really releasing a lot of new permits for oil companies to be able to go out there and do what they need to do. But the pressure is on the oil companies here in the U.S. to basically kind of stay silent. And that's really kind of hurting us from being able to compete with other countries and be able to keep the price of oil low. So in this case, oil is rising through the roof, and that is affecting everything else. everything else that you're looking at. And you can see it at the pump. You can see it in your food prices, and you can see it trickle down to everything else that you're looking at. So inflation, as we know, has been on the rise, and the only way to counteract inflation is really by raising interest rates. That's it. And we've known since the beginning, the first of the year, we have basically almost gone up 1.25%, which is just, that's a huge jump. Okay, in that small amount of time. And the Fed is going to meet more times this year. They're saying an anticipated another 12 times this year, to where they could raise it 0.25% each and every time. That could really jump up our interest rates to astronomical levels. And it needs to happen in order to combat the inflation that we are seeing right now. There's just no control over that, and the Fed needs to do it. Because if they don't, and interest rates still stay low, inventory stays low, buyer demand is still high, all that, it's going to raise up home prices. But the thing is say we do get a market correction, which I still kind of anticipate is coming up here. Okay, I would say probably not at this point, maybe around Q4 it could happen, or Q3, Q4, or we could see it, in early of 2023. But either way, that's if inventory just shoots up to the point or demand tapers off, because again, buyers, if your interest rates get really, really high and the home values are high, you can anticipate that it might take you out of the equation, that it possibly could. Your monthly mortgage payments could be a little too much from what you're able to afford, considering your job. So if that happens and inventory starts shooting up, demand starts tapering off, we could start seeing that market correction, because it would force sellers to have to come down in price in order to sell their homes. Now, do I anticipate a huge market correction? No, I really kind of don't. But it's going to be a slight amount to sellers. Maybe could anywhere be about 10% that you're going to be losing overall in the value of your home. So sellers, you got to keep that in mind. If we have a market correction, you could actually take a hit. But buyers, even if, say, the prices were to come down a little bit, say they were to come down about $25,000, maybe $50,000 off of what the average median price is, the interest rates, if they are still sitting at about, say 6%, is totally going to make up for that difference and actually be worse. So buyers, again, if you think you're getting a savings because the market came down, no, you're really not. If the interest rates are still high, the interest rates will supersede that. So if you have been on the fence about buying right now, I really strenuously strain, this is your window. I anticipate the interest rates to continue to go up. Everybody does. And in fact, actually, talking with some of my, mortgage lenders and everything else, they didn't think that it was already going to kind of hit this threshold, and it already has, and it's going to continue to go up. So buyers, do not wait. Get in there, get your house while you can. If you're worried about the fight, consider new construction. Come and talk to me. We'll discuss all of that together. But anyways, beyond all this, I just kind of want to let you know, I'm going to go ahead and break this down to my final thoughts right after this. All right, everybody. Hey, welcome back. I know after that very, very long video, I do apologize about that, but there is just a lot to really kind of have to go over in the real estate market happening right here in the Treasure Valley, due to what's really happening here in the US and what's happening abroad. And just before we go any further, I do want to give my thoughts and prayers for the people of the Ukraine. Please keep up the good fight against that tyrant. Get through this. And again, I'm sure that all of you that are watching this video have your thoughts and prayers with them too as well. Let's just continue it up and hope that this conflict comes to a good resolution that benefits the people of the Ukraine. So let's go ahead and let's get down into my final thoughts, my summary here. And let's go ahead and start with you buyers real quick to recap. First off, buyers, as you were able to see from this video, inventory is really on a low, and the multiple offer situation might be returning. You can see that home prices are actually starting to tick up again, as well as interest rates. Because again, the way that things are happening here in the US, by flooding, the market with money, by cutting off American independent energy, and by the war in the Ukraine, basically, we've noticed that everything has gone up. Everything has. And when inflation has hit this almost all-time astronomical high, but the highest it's been in the last 40 years, interest rates have to go up to be able to counteract everything that's happening. So it's just going to make it worse in the long run. So right now you are seeing home prices starting to tick up and interest rates are going up. Okay. And there's still another 12 times the Fed is planning on meeting, which could possibly raise it about a quarter point every single time they decide to do so. Let's hope it's not going to be that bad, but it very well could. And again, there's not going to be another 2008 crash coming around the corner here. 2008 was for a whole nother reason. Okay, that was mismanagement on mortgage companies and banks, a lot of greed out there and no regulation. Nowadays, mortgage companies really have that under wraps by all the questions they ask you and minimizing their risk. So something like that is just not seeing itself around the corner. But again, high home prices, high interest rates, you really don't want to see that. You don't want to face that. Now, do I still see a market correction coming? Yeah, I do. I do see a market correction coming because I think that high interest rates will taper off some of the buyer market and bring more inventory onto it, maybe as late as quarter 3, 4, or maybe even to early as 2023. But I don't see the market correction being a big one. Even if it were to reduce, say, $25,000 or $50,000, in the overall value of a home, the interest rates at being high will far surpass the benefit of that. So buyers, right now, I really think this is your window. Do not wait any longer. And then on top of that, it could very well push you out of the market, between if you're looking to move to Ada and Canyon counties, it very well could push you out of the market from, a high home price and a high interest rate. So just kind of keep that in mind and feel free to give me a call with any further questions that you got. And I'll give you my contact information here just in a bit. So now sellers, same thing kind of applies. Right now, home prices are starting to tick back up because there's no inventory and the demand is still staying good in our market. So could you see a little bit more equity out of your home? Sure. But if that market correction does come around the corner, you could actually lose some value in your home. And then the other thing that I want to strain is, what do you plan on doing, as you move out? I'm sure that you're looking to find another home. So if you're looking to find another home, you're also going to have to contend with the interest rates. So right now, home values are great. It's a great time to sell. And also you could probably laterally move into another home still at a low interest rate before the Fed decides to rack it up and put you, along with the buyers, after you sell. So buyers, just all things to kind of think about too. And, again, I'll always say this: appropriately price your house, fair market value. If you're looking to sell, or maybe even a little under, the multiple offer situation right now I'm seeing is returning as of right now because the inventory is so low and our demand is kind of staying the same. So if you properly do this, we can see multiple offers return on your home, which could be a very, very good thing. So sellers, if you have any further questions about strategies, let's go ahead and let's set up an appointment, and I'll give you my contact information along with the buyers right here in a second. Renters, everything's going up. Okay, including your rent. If you have literally been on the fence about buying and you have the means to do so, I would highly say do it right now. Get in there, get off the fence, get in, buy a house. Why pay for somebody else's equity? And really, with the interest rates going up the way that they are, it could maybe potentially price you out, depending on your financial situation. But rents have already gone up last year. They went up the year before that here in the Boise area. And actually in 2020, we were the highest increase in the entire United States in terms of rentals. So I anticipate them to go up again here in 2022. So renters, if you're on that fence, give me a call today. And investors, if you want to know about cap rates, all that stuff, give me a buzz. More than happy to run the calculations on the properties that you're looking for, if you're looking to make rental properties. But also, if you are in the flip game, there is a lot of competition out here, and still, being able to find that diamond in the rough is very, very tough to do. But they are out there, but it's just got to be patient for them. Well, thanks again, everybody, for watching this video. If you have any further questions, or you're looking to buy, sell, invest right here in the Treasure Valley, feel free to reach out to me at area code 208-715-STAR. Again, that's 208-715-7827. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button below, hit the notification bell so that you're constantly in tune with all the videos that I do come up with. Also, if you are looking to relocate right here to the Treasure Valley, click in the description below, download my free relocation guide. So that way you're in the know before you decide to make the move. Also, please feel free to comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you think that this economy is going to be going. Where do you think the real estate market is going to be going right here in the Treasure Valley? Love to hear your thoughts so that we can correspond a little bit back and forth. So thanks again, everybody, so much. I look forward to the day that we speak. I look forward to the day that I call you my neighbor. God bless, and we'll talk then. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.